A strong personal brand is by far, without a doubt, the number one most powerful asset that any online business owner can have in 2026. Now, despite this, I've not really found any good resources online detailing this topic. A lot of the advice out there is very vague, not particularly actionable. So, my mission with today's full free course, this masterclass, is to rectify that and to give you the exact, specific, actionable, step by step framework that I walk 4 to 6 figure entrepreneurs through to create the most compelling, profitable personal brands that they possibly can. So let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and get straight into this. So here's what you're about to learn in today's video. You're going to learn the actual precise definition of what a personal brand is, because many people throw this term around, not many people actually understand what it means. The mathematical reasoning behind why you should care more about your branding, like a lot more. Okay, we're going to break down some serious explanation as to why 99.98% of people get this completely wrong when they're trying to start a brand, why they mess it up, and exactly how step by step you can build a personal brand that is so powerful that people will line up to buy from you as long as you live. Okay, you can do this. I'm going to show you exactly how. And also, we're going to look at how these principles that I'm about to share with you apply to the biggest and most successful brands in the entire world. Okay, so let's get going. First of all, before we understand what the term personal branding means, we have to understand what a brand is. So, as defined by Oxford Languages, a brand is a particular identity or image that's regarded as an asset. So, if this is what a brand is, a personal brand is going to be a particular identity or image regarded as an asset that is exclusively associated with you, no one else. Now, simply put, because let's just break this down on the simplest level, this just means the thoughts and feelings that people associate with you as a person. When people think of you, do they go, oh yeah, that person, that person gives me a good vibe, that person gives me a bad vibe? That's literally all it is. What kinds of specific thoughts that people have when they think of you as a person. That is what a personal brand is on the simplest level. So the question becomes then, okay, why should you even care? Because, I don't care about what people think. Why should I care about what other people are thinking about me? Okay, that's what we're always taught. Never seek external validation, that kind of thing, okay? Why should you care then? Well, you already have a brand, whether you like it or not. People are going to see you and they are going to have a particular thought or feeling about you, and that becomes your brand. That is the exclusive identity or image that's associated with you. If you don't control this, other people will do it for you. So let's not leave that on the table. Let's take advantage of it. A brand is also the most powerful asset that any business can have, full stop. It's the kind of thing that makes people want to choose you over anyone else. And similarly, this is essential for winning in the digital age, where there are just way too many options with the internet. Way too many options. Having a good brand is what's going to keep people focused on you and not wanting to turn and go elsewhere, because you're going to have that loyalty. And also, a good brand can near enough completely eliminate customer acquisition costs if you do it right. I'm going to break down exactly how in just a second. And it also allows you to tank pretty much any CAC related problem, that is customer acquisition costs. Any problem that comes up in that department, you can tank it if you have a good brand, right? So let's break down exactly how that works. You may or may not be familiar with this, the CAC to LTV ratio. This is the customer acquisition cost to the lifetime value per customer ratio. What you need is for the CAC to be smaller than the LTV if you want to have a profitable business. Because if you're paying more to get customers than the customers are paying you back over the time that they spend buying from your brand, then you do not have a profitable business. So this is the kind of thing that we have to get to. Now, the thing with CAC is it is going to rise regardless. There's nothing that we can do about that. Things like traffic is going to become more expensive, ad space, native platforms, that kind of thing, the way that the economy is going to go. But if you have a good brand, you do not actually have to pay as much for traffic, because word of mouth, familiarity, and also that loyal following of customers that are giving you tons and tons of money over their lifetime spent with you is going to be so much higher that it's going to completely throw the CAC off balance. So mathematically speaking, having a strong brand makes it easier to have a profitable business in the long run. Anything that happens cannot stop you. Why are some of the world's biggest brands still standing today when they've been through major recessions, major economic downturn, hell, even wars last century? They're still there because of the power of their brands, right? So this is the same kind of benefit that you can reap yourself. So to cut a long story short, a strong brand is an unfair advantage for sustained and long-term success. That is why you should care about having a quality brand. So as long as you have a good brand, you will never go out of business. Never. I can guarantee you that. Here is where most people mess this up completely, because they think, I'm going to have a personal brand because this is such a high lever I can pull. I'm going to start one, but then they mess it up. So there are two main ways that people do mess it up. First of all is, let me just lifestyle max and post this on social media. So you'll see this with people trying to just like flex all of the time, usually like renting out supercars or something so they can sit on, and like hiring some models to like pose with, or whatever the hell, random stuff like this. Oh yeah, look at me go to this expensive place. Look at me going on this crazy holiday. You know, the kind of thing that like just broke people like to put on their Instagram to like get validation from their immediate group. Same deal, okay? This is what people think a personal brand is. It's not. There's nothing unique about it, okay? You have got to be one of these two things, okay? At least one, maybe both. You've got to either be extremely insecure or you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. Because there's nothing personal here. There is nothing personal about just flexing stuff. No one cares at the end of the day. And the second way that most people mess it up is they restrict themselves too much, okay? They restrict themselves to playing this character that's not really them. If you feel like you have to cut out parts of your identity, then you are doing this wrong. It should all flow, it should all feel natural, because if it doesn't, then it's not authentic at all. So now that you know why branding is so important, and you now understand as well why most people get it completely wrong, now here comes the fun part. Get your notebook out, start taking some notes, and I'm going to walk you through the exact step-by-step process that I take my clients through to making their legendary personal brands. Let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, before anything else, comes the origin story. Every influential person throughout history has had a compelling backstory. And this is because humans always resonate with the story and the transformation of a person, what's taken them from one point to the level that they're at now. That's always really interesting to us as people. We've always resonated with stories. And it also creates a genuine depth of character as well. It makes people seem like, oh wow, they've got this extensive origin story. And that also establishes competence, because they're like, oh, this person's got experience. They've really lived life in this area. So that makes me feel more inclined to listen to them. They've got that competence and that experience through this origin story. And it also creates this I was just like you relatability factor, okay? Oh, wow, they started out just as a normal person and now they've reached this level of success. Wow, that's so inspirational. I can achieve that success too. Wow, I really relate to this person. It makes people want to listen to you more. So let's just go through some major origin stories right now, okay? Let's look at Elon Musk. You know, he apparently starts out as this bullied computer prodigy, gets, you know, abused by his father and by people at his school when he was in South Africa, and he moves to the USA completely broke. And he comes to America, this land of opportunity, and, you know, really embodies that American dream. He breaks into high barrier industries like banking, and he revolutionizes them. Stuff like PayPal, right? Same with like Andrew Tate, okay? He like lives in the ends. He lives in freaking Luton on some council estate. And he says that he's so broke that he used to dig in KFC for food. He, you know, apparently he lived in this environment where he was always pushed to succeed. I think it was by his dad, who was like supposed to be a chess grandmaster, but he wasn't. And then he becomes this legendary kickboxing champion, and he becomes really rich and wealthy and successful. And then we've got like Trump, okay? One of the most illustrious guys on the planet right now. He starts out taking these huge risks to move his business out from Queens and into Manhattan, Atlantic City, these expensive places to develop and really get into. He suffers like countless setbacks, all these bankruptcies all the time. Something like, how many bankruptcies did his companies file for? Tons. I can't remember the number. But despite this, he overcomes the adversity. He becomes this huge business success story. It's all about the storytelling. You have to be good at storytelling, and you can create this really interesting backstory that people connect with. But there are two important caveats to this origins stage. First of all, a story only works if it's true, because people will find out. So for instance, with Elon Musk, people are finding out, oh, his dad actually was really, really rich and had an emerald mine and stuff like that. So it's kind of painting a bit of doubt on Musk as this true, like, American dream kind of figure, because he actually started out with capital backing him. Same with Tate. I mean, he was a fucking pimp. It's like, that's why he has all this money, because he was a pimp. And then we got, for instance, Trump. It was like, well, he was literally the son of Fred Trump. That was one of the richest people in all of America at the time. He had tons and tons of capital and networking connections from his dad that backed him. That's something that most people can't actually get access to when they're starting out. And this is the thing. People will find out. You cannot tell stories that are fake and made up or grossly exaggerated, because eventually it'll come out and people will lose trust in you as a result. So those three people that I've just gone through, yes, they have huge brands, but they've now taken a hit because people have learned that, oh yeah, maybe this backstory isn't as true as they made it out to be, and that's making them lose credibility as a result. Not great. The second point is that you cannot build your entire brand off this origin stage. Okay, this is just the first stage. You can't build your entire brand off this. A brand that can't outgrow its origin story, or is only built on relatability, that relatability factor that I was just talking about, is doomed to fail. Okay, a great example of this is Hamza Ahmed, who grew insanely fast because of how relatable his brand was. The stories that he would tell connected with people, and they really resonated with him. The problem is, because his entire brand was built off of that relatability factor, as soon as he started making money, then he just stops being relatable. Because what are you going to do? Like, stop catering towards the audience that you built up by being relatable? Well, then it's all lost. And as we can see now, of course, Hamza is not so relevant and struggling quite a bit in terms of his credibility nowadays. So that's not really the kind of outcome that you want to end up with. The second stage, after you've got your origin story dialed in, is going to be the belief system, okay? The beliefs are the most outward-facing layer of your brand, okay? People initially blow up, literally just for expressing their beliefs alone, okay? And I'll go into some examples of this in just a minute. And that's because beliefs and ideas are how people connect with each other, okay? You make friends because you're like-minded, or because you've expressed a certain sentiment that the other person connects with. That's literally how we connect as human beings. It's the same thing for your brand then. And your beliefs and values as well will determine the kinds of people that you attract through your brand and the kinds of people that you deal with. So you don't want to be communicating beliefs that are going to attract people that you don't want to deal with at all, like customers that you don't want, people that are not fitting your ideal audience, your target market at the end of the day. For instance, Elon Musk, he's got these beliefs about, oh, we're going to be forward thinking straight into the future. Let's go ahead and let's colonize Mars. He's this forward thinking person. These beliefs are what his employees connect with, because they know that working for a Musk company is hell, but they want to work there because they're a part of that human history. They resonate with Musk's overall forward thinking. With someone like Jordan Peterson, this guy started out just by being this professor giving these lectures about all sorts of really like esoteric niche topics, but he blows up just because he was caught like debating people about like trans rights or something stupid, or like feminism. I remember I think he literally first blew up because of a series of videos where he was debating some young students about some identity politics, and then when he was on a BBC News interview talking about feminism and basically gave the journalist like ego death in real time. Pretty funny video. But that's how Peterson blew up. He'd been working on his ideas and beliefs for like decades, and then just one time, like where he expresses the beliefs, that's how he blows up. Not because of his lectures, which is which was the main thing that he did, but the beliefs that he expressed at certain points. Tate. Tate blows up because he's got these crazy ideas about the world. He believes that he's better than everybody. He's got just these insane contrarian takes. A lot of people's like, oh, he's a massive misogynist and stuff like that. He's just got these dumb ideas about the world, right? And that's how Tate blows up, because of these ideas that he expresses. People are like, what? There's no way that anybody could possibly believe that. But Tate claims to, and that's how he was able to blow up so massively as well. The thing is that you need to understand when it comes to the beliefs system is that you have to stand behind your beliefs, okay? Do not go ahead expressing ideas that you cannot defend, that you cannot stand behind, okay? Because if you want to if you want to be like Tate, for instance, Tate literally says like, oh, I'm better than everybody else. I'm right all of the time. Well, if you say that, the moment that you get one-upped by someone else, or the moment that you make a prediction that turns out incorrect, well, you've lost credibility. It's something that you have to be really, really mindful of. So don't just be going out there expressing these contrarian takes to try and get traction, because if you can't stand behind your beliefs, if you're shifting all the time, and another great example of this is Hamza Ahmed again, the fact that he was constantly shifting between ideas all of the time. The third pillar of a compelling personal brand is going to be the style and symbols. I've put this in one category because I think it makes more sense that way. So you learn a lot about somebody based off of what they wear, right? So this is the thing. People do judge books by the cover. What you wear, the way that you present yourself physically, is obviously going to have a huge impression on other people, okay? So you want to really make sure that you're dialing this in and getting it right, that you're expressing yourself authentically through the way that you present yourself. And as well, symbols are a powerful way to make yourself really, really memorable. Symbols can also be leveraged to create favorable impression or impressions of your brand as well, just by associating with the symbols, and more on that in a bit. But dialing this stuff in, it's going to be the stuff that screams your brand. When people see, they immediately think of you, okay? You live rent-free in their head that way. And it's the kinds of stuff that's going to tell them more about you without words, essentially. It's a very important thing that most people don't really get right, and they kind of underestimate the power of. So, for instance, here's a great example, okay? We've got Alex Hormozi here. Hormozi is all about taking complex entrepreneurial terms, topics, and making them really simple for everybody to understand. So Hormozi just looks like a normal ass guy, okay? He could be here wearing a suit and being like, yes, I'm this great entrepreneurial guy. But he's not. He's just wearing normal ass clothes. And as well, you'll see him wearing a lot of things like fitness related stuff, like gym clothes. That's because he started out with his first business, Gym Launch, right? So again, it's creating that impression. Just by seeing Hormozi looking like just some random normal ass dude, we're immediately like, oh, so he's actually bridging the gap between this complicated, hard to access entrepreneurial world and making it accessible for me, a normal person, to actually understand. It's so subtle, but it's amazing. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Another example is Steve Jobs, okay? Steve Jobs isn't wearing suits. He wears the same thing all of the time. He wore the same black turtleneck, Levi's jeans, and New Balance trainers, sneakers, if you're American, because in his own words, he says, I want to reduce decision fatigue. I'm pretty sure Zuckerberg said the same thing as well, but he's been kind of switching his style up recently. But he wears the same thing because he wants to say, yeah, because I'm such a forward-thinking innovator, I don't have time to sit and think about the stuff that I'm going to wear today. It also screams, I don't care. I'm looking forward into the future. My ideas speak for me. It doesn't matter how I look. And as well, he's not wearing formal business clothes at all. This is not business attire, okay? Maybe the turtleneck if you put some better trousers and shoes with it, but he doesn't, okay? And it just kind of screams this rebellion type vibe, which is the thing that Steve Jobs wanted to get across in his lifetime as the Apple boss. And again, with Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, he's trying to give this sort of rebellious, forward-thinking approach. His looks are things like black leather jackets. He wears dark clothing, super, super sleek. And so he's creating that sort of image that then becomes associated with him. He's not wearing, again, like a suit or whatever. It's something that's unique to him. And this isn't saying that you can't wear suits, by the way, okay? Like, for instance, Huang can get away with this being at the, at one of the front runners of the big tech world. But for someone like Warren Buffett, who's part of the investments industry, and he deals with that kind of thing, that's a very old, kind of hard to access industry. It's got a high barrier to entry. It's very old fashioned in the way that it works. So you would never see someone like Warren Buffett wearing leather jackets or jeans and New Balances, right? It's all about specifically their industry, what message they're trying to get across, and it's going to be completely different and unique for everybody. When it comes to symbols, for instance, here's a very popular one, Andrew Tate's Bugatti, and this is some horrendous posture that I'm seeing in this image, but, by associating himself with the Bugatti, well, what is a Bugatti? One of the most expensive cars in the world, one of the highest performing cars in the world. So Tate, as somebody who's trying to portray himself as, I am the best of the best, I am better than everybody, I'm insanely successful and rich and you're not, he's associating himself with the Bugatti. And so by doing that, when the Bugatti becomes a symbol of Tate, then the characteristics of a Bugatti and the ideas of the Bugatti brand then become associated with Tate. I hope you're seeing how this is starting to line up. Again, another popular symbol is the luxury watches, right? So a lot of people like to wear Rolexes. Now, Rolexes, okay, as somebody that's very much into horology and stuff, I can tell you that Rolex is not the best watch in the world. Their brand would have you think it is, but the Rolex is so iconic, and so they're difficult to even buy because of the demand, because they've positioned themselves as something that embodies success. Okay, when you buy a Rolex, it's to mark that you are somebody of high stature and you've achieved a success. For me, for instance, I mean, I aspire to one day owning a Vacheron Constantin. That's a lot more of a niche watch, a little bit more sophisticated, better watch, better components, because the way that I see it is, okay, a Rolex is just kind of popular, but I'm not that kind of person. I want to be different. And then I'm going to take on the sort of ideas associated with the Vacheron Constantin instead of the Rolex. So you can see how this works, right? Cigars, okay? A lot of people smoke cigars these days. Now, what is associated with a cigar? Well, a cigar is, it's smoking. Smoking is supposed to be bad for you. Cigars they're not like cigarettes. They're kind of like a status thing. They're expensive. They're a luxury sort of niche thing. So if you're smoking cigars, that's a way of projecting that sort of, I don't care about what society thinks. Look at my level of success. I can afford to buy these cigars and smoke them. And now that's going to take us on to the fourth step of this entire process. This is going to refer to the behavior and actions. So the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you carry yourself. So manners maketh man, okay? It's the very old proverb. It does, okay? The way that you act defines you. Your actions define you. It's deeds, not words, because the things because our actions are what most clearly convey who we are as people. We can say whatever we want. We can look completely different, but ultimately it's the things that we do that give people the most clear understanding of who we are as people. So what people observe about you is far more important than anything else. And this is going to refer to things like the energy that you bring to your content, to your YouTube videos, your Instagram reels, your ads, whatever it is, the energy that you bring. So for instance, the energy I'm bringing right now, which is not like kind of crazy and loud, but it's also not too muted. It's sort of that in-between level. That's the energy I'm bringing. That is going to tell you a lot about who I am as a person and the specific things that you do. So for instance, hand gestures is a big one. I'm making hand gestures. That's going to tell you something about who I am. You see, it's all of these sort of small little details. So just to go through some examples to make this more clear, for instance, Jordan Peterson, the energy that he brings is this kind of quiet, academic type. He's sort of being thoughtful with his responses and the things that he says. And that's going to be very, very different to, at least I'm referring to old Jordan Peterson here before he went kind of crazy. But that's going to be very, very different from someone like Tate, who's just like really loud and brash and obnoxious for some reason. That's just his thing. So it's going to be very different based on who you are and the kind of image that you're trying to portray. And again, that's going to be very different to somebody like William Brown, who's just this kind of chill guy, and he's always sat there drinking his coffee. Again, drinking his coffee, that's telling you something about who he is. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just a normal person. I drink coffee like you do. I'm, trying to keep myself awake. I'm just chilling and hard at work all the time. That's something then that creates a favorable impression of William Brown. And then also it's that kind of, oh yeah, I'm sitting down just to kind of talk with you. I'm not here like downing loads and loads of beer or something, showing that I'm kind of a crazy person, or sitting here like a snob with my little glass of wine or my shot glass of expensive whiskey, or smoking a cigar or something. Again, it's these behaviors, the things that you do. It all reflects upon you, okay? And again, here's another one, right? Elon Musk with his just weird dance moves that he sometimes does, okay? That's become a part of his brand. If I was to start doing random ass dance moves right now, that would be kind of weird. It wouldn't really it would then become associated with my brand, and that's kind of like not who I am. I'm not the kind of guy to start busting weird dance moves in a video, right? But again, so that then makes him kind of seem like, oh yeah, look at this guy, he's kind of quirky and weird, and that's another aspect of Musk's brand now. So the behaviors, okay, the manners maketh man. Do not underestimate the power of this. This can as well be such small things like the way that you're sitting, your posture, okay? Do you sit there with your legs crossed, or do you spread out and create as much space as you can? Are you always standing up, or do you sit down? All of these kinds of small things. How much do you move around? So all of these things, they're all so specific, okay? They all tell you so much about a person. An important point to say here is that you cannot fake your energy that you bring to your content, to who you are. You can't fake it, because eventually you will just go back to your normal self, and then people are going to be like, hey, what the hell's just happened to this person, right? You can't sustain it, okay? So it is better to just try and be who you are authentically, and just start at that level, and then you can use that as an advantage as you build yourself up over time, okay? So just use your genuine personality to start with, okay? And you do have one, okay? I was once working with somebody who, when he was making his YouTube videos, he was like, I don't really feel like I have any personality. So I went through his content and I said to him, well, the way that you talk to me and the way that you interact with me when you're off camera, you have a lot of personality. You have, and I listed out all of these different traits. I was like, that's what makes me find you likable. That's why your friends find you likable. So why aren't you just bringing these traits onto your content and showing yourself to the world, okay? Why would you not do that? You do have a personality, so make sure to take advantage of it. Everyone has it. Just take what you've got and turn it into a strength. And this takes us now to the fifth part, which is the antagonist. Okay, who is the antagonist of your brand? So as the Paul Newman quote goes, a man with no enemies is a man with no character, because taking a stand always creates opposition. Throughout history, every single person has had opposition just because of being themselves, okay? I mean, hell, Jesus Christ, people hate him, despite the fact that he's just the embodiment of pure benevolence, right? If people hate Jesus, then people are going to hate you, okay? Everybody is going to have enemies just by being themselves, because they're going to clash, okay, with people who've got other different ideas about the world and values. So when it comes to thinking about your antagonist, you've got to think about who or what is it that you clash with. So it doesn't have to be a specific person at all. It does not have to be a certain establishment even. It can just be an idea or an intangible thing. So for instance, Tate's antagonist is like the Matrix, okay? It's this idea that there's this mysterious group of people that are conspiring against him because he's standing for you. He's like this populist figure, okay? That's his antagonist. Someone like Elon Musk, his antagonist is going to be, people in government who are trying to block him from doing the stuff that he wants to do to move society's technology forward. Things like this. For me, my antagonists are going to be people that don't care about moral progress in the business world. The consumer goods companies, the deceptive media companies, those are going to be my antagonists because they clash with my values, and so that's the opposition that gets created there. The thing to say about this step is that you should not try and become a cult leader. Now, a cult leader is when everybody bands together and they've got this enemy. There's like this set enemy, and essentially what you do by trying to be a cult leader is you build a following of a bunch of yes people, right? Which is not a good group of people to have. That's not quality customers. You don't want to become like this person at all, okay? Anybody that's tried to build a cult-like following has never ended up succeeding over time because they've built a really low quality customer base and audience. So you don't want to be deifying yourself and going against this one single enemy in this way. That's not something that you want to go ahead and do. You might think you do because of the expression cult following. That's not something that you want. And also to note is that you don't want to make having enemies your entire identity. So this just means, like, think about drama channels, okay? Well, think about the amount of fitness influencers in recent years who, went from making wholesome educational fitness content to now just like turning into drama channels, and they just make this slop content, like ranting about other people. This is just shallow, okay? You don't have anything unique here. Anybody can just get up and criticize and complain about the world. This is not something that you want to end up being, because people who you actually want to have in your corner will lose respect for you if you just turn into a drama channel, effectively. That's what happens when you make having enemies your entire identity. This now takes us on to the overarching thing, then something that I was getting at earlier. I haven't labeled this as a specific step in and of itself because I think that this underscores everything throughout the entire 5-step process, and this is the chain of associations. So it's like I was saying earlier when I was talking about the style and symbols. So let me break this down. You first have to understand, right, that nothing is wholly original. Your brand is going to be a unique synthesis of other brands, and that's totally okay. By associating with these other brands, you take on their characteristics as well. So like I was talking about earlier with Tate taking on the characteristics of the Bugatti brand, people who get Rolexes taking on the characteristics of the Rolex brand, things like that, right? So you have to make sure that the brands that you do choose to associate with, the brands that you sport, are complementary to your own brand, because if you're going around with stuff that doesn't really complement your identity, then that can obviously end very, very badly. Branding is a game of association. So you want to make sure that you build this chain right. You want to have links that go together properly and end up looking good at the end of it. So you can think about it like a necklace, right? So you can have these links. If every link doesn't really fit or looks weird, you're going to end up with either a necklace that you can't finish, or it's going to look really ugly when it is finished. So think about it like that if it helps. For instance, Jordan Peterson used to associate a lot with Carl Jung, okay? Carl Jung is this kind of esoteric, metaphysics-driven psychologist who is very quiet, calm, refined, used to deliver these kinds of intuitive lectures and responses. Peterson used to talk a lot about Jung. He then associates himself with the characteristics of Carl Jung, and that's been favorable upon him. Of course, again, I'm talking about old Peterson before he went crazy. Andrew Tate associates with his brother Tristan Tate, who is supposed to be the more refined guy, okay? Andrew is this loud, outgoing, kind of obnoxious, like, machismo guy, but he associates with Tristan, who's like always wearing suits and like trying to be all well-mannered and refined and whatever. And I mean, I don't think he does a very good job at that at all. But in associating with Tristan, that makes Andrew look more favorable. It's like, oh, so this guy that's a lot more refined and well-mannered agrees with Andrew, so that must mean that, he's worth listening to. He's got this kind of good company. That makes him look better. Or Musk and Trump, okay? Musk took a gamble when he was associating himself with Trump during the election season, okay? So these two then have their brands associate with one another. So that can mean sometimes like people will maybe respect Trump more because they admire Musk and his mission, or people maybe won't respect Musk as much because he's associated himself with Trump, and Trump's a very controversial guy. And of course, we saw things like the, Musk pulling out of that whole thing with the Trump-Musk feud, probably as a way to, he kind of got the influence that he wanted with that brand gamble, and so then he again made another change to his brand by roasting Trump. Okay, so kind of it's all very calculated risk on Musk's part. That's what this whole thing was. But again, like they're associating, they will now both take on the characteristics of one another. Do you see how that works? I hope that this has proven really, really helpful and informative for you. I just want to leave you with some closing words right now. So now that we've gone through the step-by-step process that I take my clients through on how to make the best personal brand that you can, I just want to say this. In a world where everything looks and sounds the same, being intentionally different is what stands out. This is what you want to be. You want to be intentionally different because that is what's going to get you remembered. That is what is going to get people inspired by you and want to come to you and want to flock to you and buy the things that you have to offer. Because we're living in a world with AI, everybody's just like trying to imitate one another in a really shallow way. It's like I'm seeing people show up wearing like Versace robes with cigars. It's like you're just imitating Tate. You're not a unique person. Things like that, the lifestyle maxes, all of this stuff. You want to make sure that you are intentionally different. You want to make sure that you stand out. That is what's going to be successful in the long run. That is what's going to make your business more profitable and keep you relevant throughout the rest of time and keep you with a loyal audience of buyers that are going to spread the good news of your brand. So thank you very much for getting to the end of this full guide. I hope you found it super helpful. It's been a pleasure to have you here. If you're interested in going ahead and taking your personal brand from whatever it is now to being the most clearly defined, captivating, compelling thing that's going to make you a hell of a lot of money, both in the short and long term, that is the power of the most powerful asset that you can have with an online business, then feel free to go ahead and check out the link in the description and you can see if you want to work with me and my company. I've opened up a couple of spots, so if you want to go ahead and check that out, you can do. And until next time, hope you stay safe, and I will speak to you in the next video.